It's a pleasure to welcome everybody to this first webinar of 2021 of the Human Capital and Education Center at Bridgend, debunking the stereotypes about studying abroad. I'm particularly delighted to welcome the panelists, Professor, as mentioned, his daughter, Orin, Aska at UI, Widdy, who's studying through Leeds. Delighted to have you with me. And when we talk about debunking stereotypes, I think really what we're talking about are those motivations and fears that people have about considering, first of all, education abroad, and most importantly, our focus education in the UK. Prof, I'd like to begin just with a little bit of conversation and just ask you at the moment, what does your linguistics department do at the Ministry of Education and Culture? What is your remit? What are your goals, Pak?
All right, thanks, Pak Chris, and also thanks everyone. I'm very delighted to be part of this webinar. And well, as mentioned earlier by Asti, that I was the education and culture attaché in the embassy of the Republic of Indonesia in London for 4 years, and I just returned last year at the middle of July. And at the moment, I am the head of the language center of the Ministry of Education and Culture in Jakarta. And there are 3 missions that my office has at the moment. One is for the development of language, of Indonesian language, how we develop and how we teach this. And the second is the conservation of the local languages across Indonesia. Probably you have heard that Indonesia has about 718 local languages, and is to internationalize Indonesian language. So that's why my office is working hard now to teach Indonesian language across the globe, and UK is one of the focus for our teaching of Indonesian language.
Correctly. Most of our audience today are undergraduate students. Undergraduate students with their study within Indonesia, universities in Indonesia. Welcome to them. So presumably their focus in particular is relating to doing a master's degree in the UK. I think first of all, I'd like to bring in Aska, our clinical psychologist at UI, and I'd like to bring in Aska for a couple of reasons. First of all, from among our panelists, you're the only one that has not studied outside Indonesia. You haven't had the international experience. And a lot of your interest is about the concerns that people might have in going overseas, and also what those benefits might be. Aska, from your own perspective and conversations that you've had, what are those main concerns? Can you just summarize them for us?
Okay. Actually, there are some. First of all, thank you for everyone for having me here and talking about what Chris asked me. Actually, the concern is mostly about how they manage to adapt, how they're being independent in overseas academically, and how they can explore well. Actually, it's become a problem, not only for the kids, but also the parents, because the parents don't know how to prepare themselves to let go of their child, of course. And of course, it depends on the place also. It's so far away, especially within this pandemic. We don't know when you're gonna come and see your kids, right? And also this become a big difference between how Western parents sees overseas studying and how Asian parents see overseas studies, because in Westerns, we see emerging adults within 18 to 25 years old. But in Asian, is 18 to 30. Why? Because the kids don't have the time to explore themselves. In Indonesia or in Asian in general, they only have time exploring after they get their undergraduates. And of course, there's also a lot of burden. You have to have this kind of work, you have to have this kind of job, this kind of salary, etc., etc., etc. But actually, if you propose them or actually promote them to, okay, go overseas, go to seek your independency, they get times, a lot of times, to explore themselves, to know their challenge, how to know themselves, like literally independently, their identity, and also culturally. They can differentiate, oh, I have this kind of culture, oh, but I'm in UK, how I integrate my culture here, and how I can manage to find friends, maybe like different kind of communities, or find new community to feel acceptable, or feel this is my place. I still feel belong, even though this is not my country. So there's actually a lot of beneficial stuff, and not only about the age range for being an adult, but also like the beneficial in culturally. You can see, oh, I'm more open to see different kind of culture. You can also have like different kind of degree. It's also beneficial. In Indonesia, you have a good amount of degree, like, and also I've read in journal that because outseas or overseas, there's a lot of very specific major. In Indonesia, there's a lot of general major, so you have more competence when you go back in Indonesia, and a lot of people see you as a very good candidate for their job.
Okay, thanks very much. So it sounds like you're suggesting that in the first instance, the misperceptions or the fears are actually the fears of the parents on behalf of their sons or daughters.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to bring in Widdy. Widdy, you studied Brighton and now Leeds. If you can recall, when making the decision to study in the UK, what sorts of concerns did your parents have about your ability to cope with being 8,000 miles away and not having them around you, cope with the integration, cope with the need for independence, cope with having to look after yourself, which perhaps you hadn't done so much of until then?
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Chris, for the question. And Aska, that was brilliant. That just sort of explained my past 7 years. So, yeah, I was in Brighton studying my undergrad for 3 years in biomedical sciences, and then I moved to Leeds afterwards. And yeah, so I guess my parents' concern mainly was independence. And really just being able to take care of myself, because you're right. I was very privileged not to take care of myself in the sense of cooking and cleaning and doing all the chores that I really needed to do now until I actually managed to move to the UK. So yeah, I think mainly it was independence. It was taking care of myself and just safety in general, because, you know, being by myself, homesick, being alone, the first time I'm being away from my parents and it would be really, really far away. And yeah, I think that those were my parents' concern. And in terms of how I managed to somehow convince them, I personally do not know. It took a while, if I'm being honest, to convince them that it was worth it for me to move all the way across the world. But I think in terms of trust and having all these research that I've been doing prior to moving and making sure that, here, these are the reasons why, and here are the pros and cons. And eventually, thankfully, they did. And I'm really glad that they did so.
Thanks, Widdy. We'll come back to those pros and cons. But I'm really concerned. Are you actually saying that Brighton didn't provide you with a helper and a maid to do your washing and your ironing and your tidying?
I really wish they did. I really wish they did. I really did not. Funny enough, I didn't actually know how to cook completely, even rice, when I moved to the UK, and my friend who is Japanese had to teach me everything in the first year while also studying and adapting. So that was a challenge. But thankfully, I now know how to do all of that.
What a great experience. 365-day, it'll fit out somebody to look after you. Okay, Orin, I think your background is probably somewhat different. Your father clearly, his work has taken him overseas, and perhaps within your family, the concerns of the challenges relating to living overseas are not quite the same. Or are they? Did your parents have concerns about you going overseas and being able to integrate properly in life in York, York is in the north of England, for those who don't know, a couple of 100 miles away from London, a very, very different environment to the one that tourists may experience. Orin.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to share my experience in this webinar. Regarding my parents' concerns, I think it's more to do with my concerns rather than my parents. Like I think the way that they showed their support, like me going to York, like they were quite confident that I would manage, I would cope with the environment there. But my concern, maybe it was adapting to a new environment which may be different to London, because it's not just the city that's different, but also uni life. I think it's quite a big change from A levels to university. Although I have experienced living abroad, but I think living at university, living in York would be a different experience. So yeah, but the thing is, I am still in Indonesia, so I haven't really experienced, living in York and the struggles of living independently.
At the same time, so I'm just gonna take over from here, guys. I'm Chenny. I'm representing the Human Capital and Education Center, and I'm just gonna continue the conversation here. So it's quite interesting to hear the story from Orin and also from Widdy, and we received a lot of questions actually from our participants wondering what kind of preparation that they need to do in order to prep themselves to be able to go abroad, and also doing the uni stuff, especially I think I'm just gonna direct the question first to Widdy, because you did your undergrad degree first in Brighton. I'm just wondering how did you prep yourself to do your undergrad, Widdy, and then we can just continue to Orin then.
Thank you. So in terms of prepping myself, if I'm being honest, I wish I did prep more. I didn't get the chance to. I did submit my UCAS quite late, and I decided quite late in terms of deciding actually going to the UK. So I did wish I had more preparation. But if I was to advise my previous self, I think in terms of doing a lot and enough research, not too much that it's going to overwhelm myself in terms of then going and, realizing that there's so much to do, but also research about just living and where the place, because I did live in the UK accommodation. I didn't realize where the area was. I think these are the things that I guess now is so much easier. You can just go on Google Maps and go on Google Street View and see how it looks, how the place look, how where you live looks like. And I think that's really, really important before moving, just to kind of get your headspace into the place that you're going to live in for the next 3 years, which is quite a long time as well. And just if you were not also, already skilled in all of these chores, I think those sorts of the things that would be very, very helpful in terms of just cooking, and putting all the support that you might not realize that you might need in the future, mentors and so now something that I wanted to mention was something to do with mentors. I think it's really important to have a mentor early on, even when you're an undergrad, just to sort of ease yourself into it and connect with societies before you move here, so you have a sense of home. And I think if anything more for me, I think preparation is creating all the support that you might need in the future. You might not need in the present, but it might come in handy.
Thank you so much for your answer, Widi. And how about you, Orin?
Yeah, one point that I just wanted to echo from Kak Widi is to do a lot of research before you go study abroad. Because I remember when I was looking for uni to go to, what my teachers told me was to look at the degrees that you are interested in, and then look at the curriculum, whether it suits you and your interest, your needs, and if you have a career path that you want to pursue, then whether it matches the path, whether it will lead you to that path, I think is also important. And I think it will give you a bigger picture of the teaching would be like, the content. And I think other than doing that research, I think it's very important to have principle like in your life. I think in Indonesia we are in our comfort zone, right? And then we know that the perception maybe is quite homogeneous, like this is right, this is wrong, and one kind of perception. But when you go abroad, you will encounter many different perspectives about some issues that maybe you don't find quite familiar with. And I think it's important for you to take a stance and just knowing what you believe and knowing your self-boundaries, whether this is the things you should do or you shouldn't do, whether it's the things that will be maybe beneficial for you or not. I think we have to have those in mind.
Yeah, thank you so much, Orin. I think we can agree that first thing first, before every students that would like to start their study, their further study in the UK, first thing first is to do your homework, do your research, know about the university, the major, and then also not only that, but also about the the career demand when you get back to Indonesia. And also from Orin, we can also have a principle for ourselves before we going abroad, 1,000 miles away from home and from your family. And so we've heard the preparation that been prepared by the students, but how about the parents? Here we have a question for maybe I can direct this question for Aska first, and then we can go to Pa Amin. So we have a question from Ibu Firma Sofia. So basically, what is the focus that must be prepared by parents actually for each level of child's schools, and also in order to prepare the child to study abroad at university level?
I should answer it first. Okay.
Yeah.
So actually what we need to prepare for the parents is actually the parents itself, knowing that there's a time difference, so they have a lagging communication, and knows that the kids have their own life. That's a huge thing to learn about, because sometimes parents, because they're so anxious, not only the kids is also anxious, but the parents is very anxious because it's called leaving the nest. When the kids is leaving the nest, it's not on the kids, but the parents is anxious. What's my kids is going to do? How are they going to prepare themselves? Like we said, like, I don't even know how to cook per se. It's like, it's something that's a new skill. And the parents like, are you seriously going to live alone? That's parents need to, at least if they need a reassurance, okay, you don't know how to cook, you don't know how to clean your bed, at least you can do a simulation for 1 month before you go abroad, because that's a very survival necessary for you to be able to live alone. It's necessary for at least not only to give the basic skill for the kids, but also giving the reassurance for the parents. Okay, so this person can be independent, even though there's gonna be so much different kind of hurdles or different kind of obstacle and boundaries over there, but at least the kids knows. And not only that, the parents also need to actually learn that this independency, not only within like the basic skill, but also the independency for the kids to have their new friends that the parents don't know about. Also, it's gonna be, like I said, lagging of communication, and maybe learning the faculty, knowing that actually what's my kids learning about in the faculty. Oh, maybe it's a psychology, or it's about medicine, or it's about behavioral things. The kids is also need to communicate, at least giving a reassurance for a week or at least a month with their consent with each other, how they're comfortable to talk to each other is necessary, so they do know each other condition, not only for how they manage to adapt, but also the condition of medical condition, how they adapt, how with their friends with, and also when the parents can communicate easily, even though there's different kind of time zone, it also gives the reassurance for the kids that, oh, I have some place to talk when they don't have the new community there, or also it's also help them with the homesick itself.
Thank you so much, Mbak Aska. And how about Prof. Amin? Do you have something different in order to prep Orin or your daughters or your sons to be able to study abroad, Prof. Amin?
Yeah, sorry, I was thrown when Chris asked me about the earlier questions, so I just had to get back and using my mobile phone now. Well, actually, I have different experience when having to decide whether I will allow my daughter to study in New York, because when I was the education and cultural attaché for 4 years, Orin was with us every day, right? And Orin is our youngest daughter, and it was hard to decide finally. But there were at least 3 reasons why I decided that Orin should go to take her degree in New York. One is actually for personal reason. Why I mean by saying this is very personal, because when Orin was graduated from A level, she could not continue her study in Indonesia just because it was very late for her to take part in the admission test to the university. In the UK, the announcement of the results was made only August, while the process of admission to the university in Indonesia began in April. So she could not go directly to Indonesia to apply for the test. So she had to wait. Secondly, after getting the result, and then I tried to contact some friends in Indonesia whether it was still possible for her to continue. The only option was to do the degree in private universities or in international class. And then I compared the tuition, which was very similar to which when if Orion was sent to York. So that's our personal reason. Secondly, we have also another reason, that is academic reason. As you may have understood this better, that the quality of education in the UK is among the top in the world. So when Orion was accepted in a Russell Group University like York, then we did not have any doubt that she would get the privilege to experience the education in one of the best universities in the world. So we decided, okay, then we are very happy to support her to continue her study. And the third reason is to do with the global network opportunity after she graduated later on. So having these reasons in mind, then we try to convince ourselves that Orion would be able to adapt, would be able to adjust, and would be able to cope with all the methods, all the problems, all the opportunities that she might have during her stay in York. And we try also to convince her that this is a very good opportunity for her to continue her study. And we then discuss this in the family. So like Asga has mentioned earlier, that as parents, we have to convince ourselves that our daughter or son can live independently, safely, because we have to be very confident about this. Yes. Otherwise, we will be in doubt every time. Mm-hmm. So we will be worried about the situations of our children overseas. Mm-hmm. With the time difference, we do not know who becomes their friends. We do not know, because it's far away from our home. Mm-hmm. But by trying to convince ourselves that they will be very safe, yeah, they will have good friends, they will be monitored by the universities, they will have good facilities in the universities. So for us, that's the factors that make ourselves confident about this. So we just let her go anytime she wants. Mm-hmm. But because of the pandemic at the moment, so we are lucky we still have her with us at the moment, at least until the end of next term, as suggested by the university. So that's how we try to convince ourselves before we decided that our daughter can study overseas.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Prof. Amin. You mentioned some interesting points there. For example, one of the reasons that you acknowledge that the UK universities, they offer very excellent teaching method that it's completely different with Indonesian education system, and also about the support system.
Although it does not mean that Indonesian education is bad, it's not like that. But we can admit that the quality of education in the UK is a lot better.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And then the second one is about the support system for students or the children there in the UK. And I also understand that Orin also taking part in Persatuan Pelajar Indonesia in York, whom I believe that's one of the support system that can be used for students in the UK, because there are your family, and apart from the PPI York, there are a lot of Indonesian communities there in the UK, and for that maybe Orin can share a bit your role with PPI York and how you guys support other Indonesian students in the UK.
So my role in PPI York is in the programming. So I make things like webinars as well as other programs as well, but not many programs will be done this year due to the pandemic. And what made me really content about living in York, although I still haven't started living there, but having their support, I think even before I joined PPI York, they already showed not only me but other students as well that I know started their university this year. They ask us, oh, what do you need? Do you need anything? Do you know where you're gonna live? Which accommodation? Do you need any help? Etc. etc. And by being involved in PPI, I think furthermore, it helped me realize that I shouldn't be worried if I live abroad and not being with my family, because there are still other people who are also in the same situation as us, and we just support each other. We did some games, online games, and I think that was quite important in building the relationships with other people during these hard times. So they've been great support system to me.
Okay, thank you so much, Orin, because we also heard that we've done a survey before. Brigham Human Capital and Education Center done a survey, and we asked some students about their study plan, and they're actually, a lot of them are interested to study abroad, study to the UK, but the worry is about, because my parents say that I don't have any family there, I don't think that I'll be able to make friends, but knowing that you're gonna have this PPI and other Indonesian communities there, is something not to worry about, right? And okay, I can continue to
PPI become your new family actually.
Yes, Pak Amin. Okay, and I actually have a question for Pak Amin from David Knowles here. So he said, Professor, of course, for Indonesian university, sending student overseas, there's an attraction of international image. But as a representative here from the ministry, how much are Indonesian universities really interested in sending students overseas for study?
Well, that's a very interesting question. As far as I have experience, as the education and culture attaché for 4 years in London, the interest from Indonesian universities to send students overseas, especially to the UK, was very high, because this was encouraged by the policy as well, the policy from the Ministry of Education and Culture, to have exchange programs, for example. And this can become a kind of prestige for the universities in Indonesia if they have good connections, good collaborations with universities overseas, especially with the universities that are very active and that have good reputations in research, in teaching, and also in other programs that can benefit the universities. So especially under the new program from the Ministry of Education, what we call as Campus Merdeka or Merdeka Belajar, those are the independent campuses. All campuses are encouraged to have this kind of collaborations with universities overseas. And they will be given the funding to have these kind of collaborations when this is operative.
Okay, Chen, thanks for maintaining the flow there. I'm back. I've been told to keep my video off. I presume that's that's to help with the bandwidth. I'd like to move, if I may, to the financial considerations, and I'd like to ask Widi. Obviously, there is a perception that the pound sterling is traditionally quite a strong currency, and that the UK is quite an expensive place. To what extent was the decision of your parents to support you revolving around finance?
Thank you, Chris. In terms of finance, I'm sure it was quite a lot to. It took them a while to decide, I'm sure, because yes, it is not cheap. Yes, it is quite expensive to live and also study in the UK. In terms of finance, my option apart from this was to do my degree in an international university to do medicine, which sort of turned out to be similar in terms of, as Professor said, in terms of tuition, it would have ended up quite similar. And it would be something that I was not really passionate in as well. So I think in terms of financial, I was just really privileged and really thankful that they had let me. But it turns out as well that there are so many options in the UK that actually do provide quality service in terms of housing. We can get quite cheap housing here, sharing with several people with really, really good quality. And also in terms of food, there's so many options. I think in terms of financial, the UK provides a big range of how to say this, basic prices in terms of things without actually compromising the quality of what you get, which is something that I was really happy about when I moved here.
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say, for people that have not experienced life in the UK, worth pointing out that not dissimilar to Indonesia, Jakarta is the more expensive place in Indonesia to live. But even within Jakarta, you have choices as to what levels of places that you eat, where you live, and how you move around. And the same applies in the UK. And certainly, it is fair to say that the further out of the south of England, the cost of living does reduce quite significantly, with the exception of perhaps being in the capital city of Scotland. Of course, with the UK, when we're talking about masters, we're talking only a one-year program, as opposed to many other countries where it's a two-year program. Oren, do you think that this was a significant consideration for your father and your family?
Yeah, absolutely, yes, I think. Especially my father, I think he really encourages me to study further to a master degree. And I think having only 1 year of study, I think that's also a benefit because not many countries, I think, do it for that short. But also, I think it depends on your course that you're studying, whether you have to have a more in-depth teaching in that field or 1 year would be enough. But it's definitely, a consideration to study a master degree abroad, in the UK.
Okay, that's great. Some interesting questions coming in. There's a follow-up question from David Knowles. For those that don't know David for many years was the chairman of the British Chamber Human Resource Focus Group, and is still very much involved in counselling and consulting on education matters, including English language. He has a question for you, actually, or best put to you, I think, Aska, and that is, do Indonesian universities have any form of survey or questionnaire that students thinking of going overseas could complete that might test their suitability to actually be 8,000 miles away from the family and home?
That's actually a very interesting question, because actually I don't ever heard about it, that knowing there's any survey or assessment or anything, questionnaire or interview regarding do you eligible to go to overseas. But as far as I know, because I also have many friends that go abroad, that goes overseas, and in Universitas Indonesia, there's also an international class, and the international class in my faculty is their terms is like 2 years in Indonesia and 2 years in Australia. Before they went to Australia, they asked for all the parents of the kids to come and talk to them how they're going to prepare the kids, what they need to prepare, what are the odds, how it will cost, and everything. But as far as I know, I have never heard about it. But actually, that's gonna be a really good thing, because I know some of my friends that also have difficulties when they come to, I don't know, like UK or Europe. When they went to go overseas, they have trouble to adapt there. But so there's also, I think, need to have some kind of preparation before to go there, and actually to assess if that person eligible or not, because it needs a lot of openness to be able to study abroad, to study overseas. Because when you don't feel open and you don't think that you want to explore, it's kind of hard to find a new friend. It's kind of hard for you to adapt there. But actually, it's not about how you assess is this person eligible or not, but it's better to see are their motivation to go abroad is correct. Because the motivation is one of the important things. Because I've heard a lot of people that says, I just want to go abroad. I don't know where I'm going to study. As long I don't know, stay in Australia, in the US, in UK, as long I live abroad. And it's going to be exciting, which is not. A lot of my friends struggles, which is not. They're struggling a lot because they don't know how much struggle, how much hurdle they're going to face. So it's need to be assessing what their motivation and how willing they went through, and the hurdle and everything when they got there, because it's also need preparation, or else I've heard a lot of tears. Even my friend said, I'm crying while I'm in a shower and everything.
All right. Okay. So Aska, in answer to David's question, actually, there isn't such a preparation questionnaire or or a suitability or an eligibility questionnaire. I'd just like to park this as a thought. Perhaps it might be an idea for you, Ui, Britcham, involve David too. Could we collaborate and put something together?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that might represent some comfort to parents to know that their sons and daughters have the right sort of mindset to be able to take this leap of faith for the right reasons. Yeah. Okay, great. Prof, I mentioned earlier about finance, and of course for a family, it's not about spending money, is it? It's not like buying a handbag or a car. This is an investment in the future.
Yes,
to what
that's correct.
To what extent, Pat, from your experience, from all your interactions in the UK with your role there, and as a father, to what extent would you say that the value proposition of a British education actually does justify that sentiment of a good investment with a real return?
Yeah, in my role as the education and culture attaché for 4 years, I have got the chance to talk to parents, right? Because this is a kind of habits of Indonesian parents to visit their kids while they are in the UK. So anytime they pop into the Indonesian embassy, so I had the chance to talk to them. Many of them always mention that they understand that education is never cheap, and investing in good quality of education is very right, in the sense that compared to the cost that they have to pay at the moment with the future of their kids, putting the investment is better. So what I mean by that is that parents are prepared to spend a lot of money, because this is for their future investment, because they also realize that in education is never cheap. So that's from parents who support their education of the education of their children privately. But as you may have heard, that for masters and PhD degrees, most of the students studying in the UK are supported by scholarships. So most of them. So they do not experience problems in having the funding because they are funded by the scholarship agency, either from the ministries, either from the, like LPDP, from UK government, and also from the universities. So in my perspective as a parent now, compared to the amount that we spent, I think the future of our children is far more important. That's what I have in mind.
And just a very quick answer to this question. You know that this Human Capital and Education Centre of Britcham is set up to provide a holistic approach to the decisions relating to education decisions, Pat, with going deeply into our network of international corporates, domestic corporates with an international outlook, being able to consider the importance of internships, less formal work experience, mentoring, and so on, even down to hopefully being able to have a role to play in that first interview for that first job back in Indonesia. Would you say that Britcham has got it right in taking this type of approach? Okay, the question is, do you think that the BritCham approach is the right approach to helping make this very important decision, integrating our stakeholder network, international corporates, domestic corporates, universities, internships, and so on?
Yeah, I think this is a very brilliant approach because in the education system in Indonesia at the moment, working with corporate, with companies, is a kind of not compulsory, but it's highly recommended for 3 semesters. So you can imagine that if students can engage themselves in the internship programs with the companies, that will be highly appreciated. So I think BritCham has taken very brilliant steps in incorporating the the universities and the corporates as the partners in having the programs.
Thank you very much for that endorsement, Professor. I would just like, we're coming to a timeout. I know there are questions unanswered, and we do apologize to those people who have posed questions. We will try, Chenny and team will try to give you personal answers and engage the panelists in those answers where possible. From my side, I'd just like to thank the panelists for joining us to really share their experiences, their thoughts, their concerns as a career professional and as a father. Professor Amin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
As a student, and I do want to ask Orin, at some stage, did you choose your own major, or was your father very, very influential in what you went to study? To Widdy, and very best wishes with your PhD in medicine, of course, an area, a profession and an area in Indonesia that remains reluctant in the context of internationalization and acceptance of overseas standards. And to Aska, and I think we have got some work in progress and an action point, which I think would be great for Chenny and the BritCham team to take on with you and UI. I think that could be a really, really worthwhile collaboration in terms of some sort of preparation research and something that we can do to assist. I'd just like to leave all our participants with Chenny, who's just got a quick slide to bring you up to date with exactly what the resource is at the BritCham Human Capital and Education Centre. And I would just like to encourage everybody, don't be silent about your thoughts, your concerns, your aspirations. Just come and talk to us. We have a wealth of experience and a very, very deep stakeholder network to be able to support whatever thinking process you and parents need to take. From me, and I apologize that you can't see my face, but from me, thank you very much. And I hand you to Chenny for a wrap.
Thank you so much, Pak Chris. So I'm just gonna be quick, guys, but just wanted to say thank you so much for staying till the end of this webinar. I really hope you find this session really useful for your study and career plan. So yeah, as Chris has mentioned previously, we're here to help any Indonesian students who are looking to continue their study in the UK. So we help you start from the beginning, from the university selection up until career advice, because employability or job seeking support is something that really stands out from us, because as you can see in the beginning, Asti showed like some logos from British universities, and they are our university partners that carefully selected based on first their top majors and also their graduates employability rank, meaning that more than 90 up until 95% of their graduates land their job or continue their further study only within 3 up to 6 months. So if any of you today have any questions about who are this university, what are the top majors, is there any scholarships available for international students like me, or simply, you know, you just want to discuss about your study plan or your career plan with us, just drop us an email. You can contact me via email at educationcenter@bridgechamp.or.id, and you can also give us a follow on our social media. Our team's been very active to share a lot of, you know, university tips, admissions deadline, and so on. So anyway, that's all from us, from Bridgechamp Human Capital and Education Center. We have upcoming event next week. So if any of you guys interested to join, please just join us. The webinar is free of charge, and it's for member or non-member of Bridgechamp. You can join us. And once again, thank you so much for all panelists and also participants who've been joining us today. Really hope you staying well and keeping healthy. And thank you so much, everyone.